on the road to recovery in Castle Rock, Colorado. Live from Millville, New Jersey, I'm on the road to recovery. We're on the road to recovery in Morgantown, West Virginia at Mountaineer Field. And live in Scranton, Pennsylvania, I'm on the road to recovery. Here I am on the road to recovery from Berlin, Maryland. Hey, from Caseville, Michigan, I'm on the road to recovery. I'm on the road to recovery at Ann Arbor, University of Michigan. On the road to recovery as we travel across America, visiting different states, telling different stories, sharing people's stories with people who are seeking recovery and people who are on that same path. You know, everyone's story is a little bit different. Don't compare, kind of find some similarities, maybe identify, but you know what, maybe you need to find hope in someone else's story until you can find a hope and manufacture that hope in your own story. On the road to recovery with one of my new friends, Joe.
Where did it all begin? I'm sure, I had addictive behavior before I was ever aware of a true addiction or anything, but I guess I would say about mid-high school years, I was an athlete in high school, hung out with the in crowd, and started with drinking and smoking weed and pot and everything like that. And what I thought was the height of my addiction, I had, lo and behold, it was like the beginning of the Oxycontin and pain medication epidemic. And my sister was actually engaged to a pain management doctor. So that's basically where it began, was with the Oxycontin and the pain pills and things like that. And that just took me down a destructive, terrible, devastating path. I ruined every relationship, anything good in my life. High school, that was about my senior year, was when the Oxycontin and the pain medications came out and hit really hard, and my whole family was being prescribed them because of the doctor that was engaged to my sister. But and eventually, you know, I dropped out of high school my senior year. First to go was my spirit. I was raised in a church environment and was raised, with good, I was taught, right from wrong, what was supposed to be good, and I ended up heavily addicted to the Oxycontins. My sister introduced me to the shooting up and the IV, and got you higher. So I was on the Oxycontin for 5-6 years heavy, and all my morals, my values, my spirituality, everything just went straight out the window. And all the things I was taught about, the worst thing is a liar and a thief, and and that's everything that I turned out to be. I got into a relationship with a girl who was, her family was like strict Catholic, so I ended up getting her pregnant, and this was in my active addiction, so we had to get married, which I didn't have a care in the world because her family had money, and she was codependent on taking care of somebody who was sick, so I had the means and the needs to get whatever I wanted, as much as I wanted. Never had to rob or steal, so I thought, and so she got pregnant. Here I am, I got involved with a group of guys from Youngstown, Ohio, that were moving a whole lot of heavy drugs, heroin and stuff like that. I never thought I'd get involved with but after the Oxycontins got shut down and the doctors were being arrested, and they put a strict hold on the painkillers, I dipped into the heroin, and so before long, my ex-wife, I ended up getting married. Like I said, she was Catholic, so I didn't love the girl. I didn't have any, it was just, and that's like the insanity of it, that I got married, something that's sacred and holy and lifelong, and I just got married just because it fit my needs at that point. And anyways, I was involved with a group of guys who were trafficking heroin from Youngstown to Pennsylvania, and I went to the lowest lows I could never imagine. I mean, I had my wife 7 months pregnant crossing state lines with ounces of heroin in the car. I was involved in I was arrested and charged with criminal conspiracy to commit homicide, home invasion. Today, the person I am today, you would never, I mean, I look in the mirror every morning and it's just insane because you would not recognize me. I don't walk the same, I don't talk the same, I don't act the same. I mean, it's just a total transformation, and it all started, my lowest point. It actually took, you know, having to reach my rock bottom and dying. I overdosed, and they had to use Narcan on me four times before I actually brought me back. And so I entered treatment, and this is about my third or fourth time trying the treatment road. But I actually had people like Vaughn, who my best friend was his son, who passed away. We were best friends all through high school and for years. And he overdosed on heroin and passed away. But I always felt like I wasn't worth anything. I didn't feel loved. I didn't feel like I had anything to live for anymore. I started with the meetings, the NA and the 12 steps, and then I eventually grew to a position where my spirit, like I did my step work and everything, and I had been years sober and clean, and I didn't feel like I was where I needed to be. I needed more, and I wasn't getting it. And that's definitely key, because I still to this day have my sponsor and work my steps, and I gotta stay vigilant and know that if they had any, you know, as long as I'm able to deal with anything in my life today. Like the things that I think back on, I would have just been totally insane, and it doesn't bother me today, because I know that no matter what, you know, I have God behind me. Even when, you know, at the worst point when I felt like nobody cared for me and nobody loved me, and that's what it took, was for me to realize that no matter who was with me or who was against me, or if I did, I knew that God was behind me, and no matter what I go through today, like I know that He's with me, and nothing can take me from that. And on a daily basis, I go through things, you know, I go through, you know, difficult situations, but I pray about it, and that's what it took. I still have my support group with the recovery, but I also needed a spiritual recovery group, and I surrounded myself with guys who have that, the guys who had that I wanted, and it's never been better. I'm in a position in my life where I'm employable, I'm able to be a good father. It's just amazing the blessings that come along with recovery when you finally, and it doesn't have to take, you know, people say they're rock bottom. I mean, it doesn't. Whenever you stop, that's your rock bottom. It doesn't take dying, you know. It doesn't take having to lose everything in your life to want something more. It just takes some acceptance. It's once you put down the drug, it's a mind mood altering substance. But it's a disease of the mind. Like, until you actually work on yourself and come to realize the reasons you are the way you are, and spirit, like I said, spirituality. I mean, there's nothing that could have got me to where I am now. I don't believe that at all. Not all the meetings in the world could have done it without God on my side. Like I said, I gave up everything for one thing. Like, why not give up one thing for everything? People look at me, it's like they gravitate towards me today. They used to run from me. I couldn't, you know, I couldn't call somebody to borrow $5, let alone, you know, let alone people calling me today. And to know where I came from to where I am today, it's nothing short of a miracle. Like, it's definitely nothing short of a miracle. It was only God that actually woke me up when I overdosed and died, and that's what it took, knowing that God kept me here for a reason. And I'm gonna do whatever it takes and whatever he wants to, let it be known and get the information out there, because the stigma of addiction, I remember when I first, came into the rooms and had to do the drug and alcohol thing when I was in high school, and it wasn't talked about in school. Drugs are bad, but it wasn't taught on a level that I think needs to be. It's starting, the walls are being broke down about, the hush-hush about it's not our problem, let somebody else deal with it. People who, aren't addicts themselves but have children or family that are addicts are actually, speaking out and getting involved, and it's just a great thing.
Hey Joe, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And sometimes I get to meet people that have years and years in recovery, and sometimes I meet some people who've struggled and slipped and fallen back, but finding their path back, as long as you can still have hope and commit to a new life. Joe, I know that you're on this journey and it's early on, but sometimes people's journeys early on are just as important as those stories of 20 and 30 years in recovery. If you know someone in recovery that wants to share their story with the Recovery Army, please reach out to us. From Newcastle, Pennsylvania, we're on the road to recovery. I'm Michael De Leon, and we'll see you on the next episode.